And there is no public forum applications at this point. So we'll go right into the roll call and let the roll call reflect that all members are present except for Mandy Wiltz, who is very close on, according to her text. She should be here any minute. So we do have a quorum, and we'll go ahead and proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is behind us.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll just do a brief reminder of the board norms that we're all agreed to. Acceptance, collaboration, compromise, friendliness, honesty, respect, understanding, challenge, communication, follow through, fun, listening, and trust. So we'll head right into the first item of new business, which is a tour of the new and improved Sugar Bush Elementary School.
All right,
Mr.
well,
Gluck, take it away.
Yep, thank you, board members, for joining us tonight at the special meeting. Last spring, we were here prior to work, just to talk a little bit about this space, and when we move into the different classrooms, you'll notice some commonality that you'll see. First is flooring. This flooring you'll see throughout the classrooms as you move, as well as some new tile work. The casework, you'll notice, is new as well. You'll see that similar casework supporting the classroom usage throughout the various spaces as well. The windows, okay, behind, when we were last here, you could tap on them and pretty much knock them out with the glazing that was original, as well as the shades that were marginal, and then the unit ventilator that was present at that time, as well as noticing some casework that was built in to align with the spaces where the unit ventilator was removed. This space specifically was the last to be finished, and I appreciate your patience on, we're not quite set up. Our librarian has been working hard with students. Library time is continuous and ongoing, and they're able to come in and they're getting their books. This afternoon when I was out, students were checking out books, so they're chipping away each day at the boxes. If you'll notice, they're all aligned and marked, so we know exactly where they are when they're looking for types of fiction or nonfiction books for students. But Beth is doing a great job under the leadership of Kristen to bring this space back to order, and then we'll be all set as a district out here at Sugar Bush. Any questions about this space for Mrs. Grable or Mr. Markworth? All right, so what the plan is, we'll head out and we'll just start on the 4K room, cut back across to kindergarten, and work our way down the hall, if that works. All right, we're recording again, so Joe, I started the camera. So thank you for your time for the tour, and as the building comes together even more, as we're able to put the final finishes on, we're super excited and very thankful for our community support to complete this project at Sugar Bush for the next generation of students and families to use it. So well done by all.
Any questions about the tour before we move on? Okay, Mrs. Martin, we'll call on you for the Act 143 requirement report.
Okay, Act 143 reporting is an annual requirement which is specified to all public school districts by the Department of Justice. So you have a couple items in your packet here tonight. The first is the topic summary that explains what Act 143 is. This is something that the reporting came into place back in 2017. Each year annually before October 1st, we have to report what we did for the safety drills. So obviously, as soon as we get back into school, all the schools take it upon themselves to go through all their safety drills. And you have a larger packet behind the topic summary that gives you the nitty-gritty of each school, which day, how many days they did it, how many people were involved, staff and student-wise, and it kind of specifies out all the details. On the topic summary, one thing I wanted to point out is we have a countywide district safety team, which participates with the school district, and that involves people like Andy Carlin from Wapaka County, the Wapaka County Sheriff's Department, various members of our school personnel that need to be aligned with us when we have any school safety drills, for example, like the transportation department or the nursing staff. We meet periodically. Our next meeting is scheduled on October 30th. Then we have each year annually, again specified by the Department of Justice, the New London PD has to walk through each of the buildings and see if we are up to code with safety procedures. So I'll give you one example. Last year, we have all the building door numbers on the outside of the building, and the police department realized the doors weren't on the inside. So when we would call for an ambulance and a staff member was maybe a little bit nervous, what door do you need the ambulance in? I don't know, I gotta go outside and look. Now you can see, if you look at the door right there, the numbers now are on the inside as well. So the PD does that, and the dates of their walkthroughs are on here, building by building. And I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I upload this each year. There's very specific requirements which are on the Department of Justice website. What I need to upload as far as building blueprints. So for example, this year, Sugar Bush needs a new building blueprint. Last year, they also recommended that I put the parking lot blueprints on the Department of Justice website. We hadn't had those before. And again, so Sugar Bush is gonna need a new picture and a blueprint of that uploaded. They give us different suggestions each year, and those were two of the suggestions that they made last year in order for us to anticipate what we're reporting. Pretty cut and dry. They check everything. They give feedback to me and Scott, to Joe, and they communicate frequently if there's anything missing, and it's a very streamlined process that we are required to do. So this is the one day a year. I will do this again next year in September after we get all these drills done again. Are there any questions? Or Scott, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, well, in your materials, you'll notice the type of drill that the district carries on, and most of them, they're called a hard lockdown.
Yes.
And it needs to replicate a moment of crisis where a building truly is in a critical decision-making process to ensure safety within. Just a building evacuation doesn't necessarily fit that mark, so you'll notice hard lockdown where we're setting up the environment to be like no one's there. And then officers are going around and assessing those areas to ensure that students and staff and lights are out and people are not where people are where they should be, so that we're creating those safe environments as well. So that was just wanted to point that as well.
And the police check us on that and make sure that we're following procedures. So one of the procedures when we're in a hard lockdown is do not open your door if somebody's knocking and saying, let me in. And you guys probably remember that from the news when Oshkosh had their safety scare in real life. They were trying to knock on the door to get a safety bag. Well, in New London, we don't need that because we have a safety bag in each of the doors. And what they were looking for was a tourniquet, and we have a tourniquet in all of our safety bags. So things that we learn from other districts, and the PD checks us on that all the time.
Okay, before I open up to discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the safety drill reports.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Mandy.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Terry. Open for discussion, questions.
Okay.
Hearing none, if we're ready to vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes.
Mr. Martins, and then at your workstation there are the documents which will need your signature at the end of the night then, and then we will process them through.
Okay.
Can you just remind me who seconded that? You?
Terry.
Terry did, yeah.
Okay, now we are ready for the final item of new business. It is guiding coalitions and how that interfaces with continuous improvement. Mr.
So,
Black.
yeah, thank you. So board members, if you'll remember back to last year was our first efforts to establish guiding coalitions throughout all of our buildings within, or all of our schools within our district. And the purpose of this is just a refresher reminder as we move forward, potentially to closed session, to look at the acknowledgement of individuals that are recommended to support that process. I thought it'd be important to highlight again some of the expectations that come forward with that, with the mindset, with the idea that continuous improvement is always on our mind when we're working collaboratively for the betterment of our school community. The graph there, the line items down in the bottom, I think do a really nice job showing the responsibilities and how we establish and the decision-making authority within. I highlighted just a couple items, that no one person is the decision maker. It really is a team approach when you take on the opportunities and challenges to collaborate and create that culture and create a culture that hopefully brings around desired results within. Last spring, you heard our administrative team talk specifically of their processes within and how that supports best results this year, now more than ever, with our continuous improvement journey. This gives the teams just that much more focus and effort to reach our key performance indicators, to support that student success for all those indicators that we've established within. So I just wanted to bring that forward, just as another tool to help support continuous improvement work that's built in, all right? Our staff meet during the day, after school, before school, during the summer. If you're a part of a guiding coalition to meet the needs, our principals truly do lead that group, and then our members are empowered to work with their teammates or team members, whether it be department or grade level, to take on the expectations that they're collaboratively working as they move forward. Were there any questions on that process or follow-up from last spring?
Not on the process, just how many coalition teams do we have?
So we have one at each of our at all of our schools. So we have one on the high school, intermediate, middle school, and then our 4 elementaries. So we have the 6 teams that are established within.
Okay.
And each building principal leads their coalition teams. Kristen leads 2 of them, one at Sugar Bush and Reedfield, with the individuals that have been recognized.
Okay.
So I know it says like you handpick who to be in. Do they submit like a letter of interest of any sort, or like how do you? Like
Yeah,
are
we
you
opened
assuming?
up, you kind of handpick, and then also,
Make sure
you know,
they're good or whatever.
we also like to have a good, like a primary and intermediate, a special ed teacher, just so there's, different voices,
Yeah.
on the team. So I think, and not to speak for Kirk and Jody and Brian and Ann, but you look for a variety of, like you had asked, to look for our district PLC, if there was a guiding coalition member in the special ed, and I said, well, Will Johnson down at Reedfield is on my guiding coalition. He would be a great member because if we have those different, committees, it's nice to have a guiding coalition member on there, because then they are compensated because they are putting in a little more time, so they're tapped quite a bit more, just because of their role.
That's why I wondered if they had to submit like a letter of interest or.
So it does.
I think Brian has an
yeah.
application.
He does. I'll expand on that a little bit. So one of our objectives this year, when we talked about giving our building level principals that ownership to lead within their buildings as to the culture within their guiding coalition. In some buildings, people are shoulder tapped, okay, to say, hey, like Kristen was just referencing, with maybe an area of expertise to support. In other buildings, it is a application process where you have multiple people, say a department, and there may be 2 or 3 people from a department that, hey, I'd like to do that. And if that does show itself, then there is an application process that when we look underneath the member selection, where it looks at leadership, position, power, expertise, reputation, relationships, credibility, and then the group votes on, or the admin team looks at those, that information to find the best candidate. So, and then with that guidance, then they establish their team within. So it does vary slightly depending on the number of individuals' interest and the volume of people that may be part of a team.
So sometimes the people are selected by their peers, and other times they're appointed by
Building
administrative
principal.
staff,
Yeah.
building principal.
Right. Yeah, it's an open dialogue and conversation that I have with our admin team when we talk about reestablishing. There are individuals that'll be recommended this year that were not part of the team last year, and vice versa, of interest and commitment, because they are making a commitment outside to, engage in the conversation. So you're right, Chris.
Do you know which ones do it which way, or is it?
The high school has a application process for their selection process. And the other buildings are shoulder tap or interest in conversation of wanting to step forward.
One question is, so how does this program interface with building by building goals that came out as a result of the continuous improvement process as the
Sure.
last step where each building developed its?
Mhm. So each principal is able to take their work and develop their plan on a page document to support the attainment of the KPIs. They took their plan on a page thoughts and processes to the guiding coalition, and then working with the guiding coalition, either reaffirm or develop strategies that the team felt would be appropriate to reach that end goal, our key performance indicators. So the strategies were shared with the coalition members to agree or to refine or to redevelop where there was that buy-in to support, hey, yeah, this will work. This makes sense for us to share this process with the remainder of our staff to strive towards the goals that we're setting.
So are those goals kind of made public in each building, like maybe a sign, so that everybody remembers what the goals are, shared with, somehow share them with the parents and with even the community, as far as, because the more stakeholders that are aware of the goals, the more they can help you fulfill them. Is that part of the process?
So the plan on a page document, if you remember back from our discussion when we had our community open session, that plan is designed to be an internal working document, to support the initiatives. We'll take example, college and career readiness as one of our key performance indicators. So those strategies that are implemented to within, we all know that any document can be considered open, for public eye and whatnot, but that document isn't necessarily shared with the, as open as our key performance indicators that we're striving for. That's a building level knowledge, insight, collaborative work, because what works in, say, Kristen's building may be a completely different approach in Mrs. Peterson's building, to attain the goals, because they're different environments working for the same goal. So I don't know if I answered that question or not, but it's not something that is publicized publicly at this time, within, so.
Is it something you might consider as a way to, because I'm thinking, if the community around Sugar Bush knows the goals that we have at Sugar Bush, they're aware of what we're striving for, and maybe they can offer help in some areas, encouragement in others,
Sure.
The more, I've seen this, and the reason I say that, I'm not pulling it out of the air, I've seen it in private business that do continuous improvement plans, and a department by department or a location by location will have goals.
Sure.
And it'll be up on a big board, so everybody's aware, and sometimes some of those goals will be measurable, so they'll have little graphs, we're halfway to this goal, and it encourages people, like a safety goal. You've seen those in different plants. We're trying to get through this year with no more than 2 accidents, and they put them up on the board, and it keeps everybody mindful.
Sure. That's a good idea. Those are good ideas, Chris. Yeah.
Other questions? Oh, in the plan also, it talked about that consensus is the way of making the decisions in these. Are there has that been a big barrier to getting decisions? I mean, are there things that almost got into the plan but couldn't quite get a consensus or anything like that?
Well, I wouldn't be able to speak specifically for each building principal. Kristen can chime into maybe some of her experiences far as that, but consensus is consensus, and there has to be a majority for consensus to move forward, and if it's not met, well, then need to work through utilizing some of the strategies, leadership tools that we worked on to find our way there so that it does make sense, and sometimes that is adjusting a little bit to meet the mark. I don't know, Krista, did you have any consensus building on any of your strategies that were put forward?
Definitely, the Sugar Bush building project was I tapped our guiding coalition many times. Joe came out and met with us. I think a good example of coming to consensus was the carpet. We used a couple of the TED tools to say, we wanted something a little more muted because it's elementary and you see all those bright, beautiful colors in those elementary rooms, and something that was a little too busy would kind of clash with the elementary looks. So we found 4 different samples, we put them out, and we all came to consensus on what would be the best. And we didn't all have the same vote, but when we then took them to each classroom and looked at their rugs, and we just said, yeah, this, by consensus, this is the best carpet. And we love it, don't we, Holly? We do, we love it.
Maybe I have the wrong definition of consensus, but to
Just
to
kind
me,
of coming together,
consensus is,
it's not necessarily majority rules.
yeah, to me, if you're gonna have consensus, it means everybody's on the same page before you move, as opposed to majority.
Yeah,
Is
If
that-
I said that wrong, yeah, everybody's in agreement. This is the direction we want to move within that, yeah. Good question.
Any other questions, comments? In the, later on in the meeting, we will vote on a proposal to have salaries attached to each of the people in there. And you'll have, opportunity for questions on that in the closed session about the amount and the folks chosen for that. But any other questions on the general concept of guiding coalitions? Okay, I guess we're again ready to consider a motion to go into closed session to act on a few resignations and a few hires, including the guiding coalition hires. Pursuant to section 19.851C of Wisconsin statutes, the Board of Education will convene in closed session to discuss the continued employment of support staff, members over which the board has jurisdiction and exercises responsibility, and pursuant to the same section of Wisconsin statutes, the Board of Education will convene in closed session to discuss the employment and compensation of support staff members, co-curricular staff members, and additional assignments over which the board has jurisdiction. Open to a motion to go into that closed session.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mark has made the motion and Katie has seconded it. Roll call vote on that, please.
Mark Grossman,
Yes.
John Heighton,
Yes.
Holly Schweitzer,
Yes.
Terry Wigner,
Yes.
Mandy Wills,
Yes.
Katie Batten, yes, Chris Martenson.
Yes,
What time we got?
we are now in closed session at 6:59.
7.
6:59.